Star Wars 7x7 episode 2471. Well, we did a couple of episodes on other series being produced for Disney Plus for Star Wars, and so I thought, hey, why not keep going? So today we're checking in on what's going on with the Andor series. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, with regard to the Andor series, at this point, the biggest news, and it's almost on a par with that drive-through of the Obi-Wan set for all intents and purposes, but before we go any further, I'll just say, no spoilers, don't worry, there's not going to be any spoilers or anything like that, but the fact that the Andor series is filming at Pinewood Studios and that they are treating it almost like a feature film production, or essentially like a feature film production, with all of the named cast members and the thousands of extras and the full creature effects department being involved and all that stuff, that's major. But the one thing that we hadn't necessarily heard that might make it more like a feature film production was the possibility of on-location shooting. Well, it seems that that is actually happening after all. So apparently a couple of weeks ago, some aerial photos were taken of a place called Little Marlow and an unused quarry there. And this little town, Little Marlow, is about 15 miles or so away from Pinewood Studios. So just a hop, skip, and a jump. For our listeners in England, it's just about, I think, 20 minutes west on the M40, give or take traffic and all that. And there were lots of folks in the photos that were shared. So, I'm going to leave it at that. And if you want to check out the actual photos, then I'll post a link in the blog notes for this show's episode at sw7x7.com. But what this does tell us is that filming is ongoing, which is pretty significant. I mean, when we had the Disney Investor Day, that was back in December, and they told us that filming had been going on for a couple of weeks already. So, possibly right after Thanksgiving it had started, and it's still going at the end of March. So December, January, February, March, that's 4 months. I mean, we know this is a significant production. There's supposed to be 12 episodes of this thing. We don't necessarily know how long the episodes are, but still with everything else we know, this is a major production. And for that, it may not even be the only season of the production. There may be more. That was sort of the hint that Alan Tudyk gave when it was announced that he would not be appearing as K2SO in the Andor series. He had initially and officially been announced, but because of, I presume, rewrites and that sort of thing, he had to then later announce that he was not going to be in the Andor series after all, but left the door open to him appearing in future episodes, installment series, but not in these 12. And that does kind of shut a door maybe on a bit of a timeline mystery in the canon. There was that Cassian and K2SO one-shot comic that came out in association with Rogue One, and it told the story of Cassian acquiring K2SO, but we didn't necessarily know when in the canon timeline that took place. It wasn't given a date. So, the possibility of K2SO appearing in this then kind of allows you to position where the comic is and blah, blah, blah. Now we can't necessarily say for sure, because even if K2SO isn't in this series, it doesn't mean that Cassian hasn't already captured and reprogrammed him. Now, there haven't been any new casting announcements in regard to the Andor series, so I won't revisit that, but there have been some director announcements, and so I thought we'd check in on some of those. So Toby Haynes is supposed to be directing, at least, this is not necessarily officially confirmed, but reports from the trade say that he is supposed to be directing the first 3 episodes of the Andor series. He is mostly known as a television director. He directed episodes of Doctor Who and Sherlock and Being Human and Black Mirror, so those are some of his notable achievements. But 2 other folks have been named, and they are Ben Karen and Susanna White. And from looking on Wikipedia, it seems like Ben Karen's big stuff is that he has worked with Kenneth Branagh on multiple occasions, and Kenneth keeps bringing him back, so that seems like a very positive thing. And Susanna White has actually directed both film and television, is a BAFTA award-winning director, so the British Film and Television Awards, basically, and also an Emmy-nominated director, too. And even though Stephen Schiff was originally supposed to be the showrunner for this and was subsequently replaced by Tony Gilroy, and Tony Gilroy was supposed to be directing, but because of COVID and traveling, he is now not directing, but he's still serving as the executive producer and showrunner. But Tony Gilroy is going to be one of the writers also of the series, along with Stephen Schiff, apparently is still credited as a writer according to Wikipedia. And also, Tony Gilroy's brother Dan is involved in this, and Beau Willimon, who is probably most famously known for the House of Cards series on Netflix. And so, when you put all of those names together, when you put Tony Gilroy and Beau Willimon and Stephen Schiff and Susanna White and Ben Karen and Toby Haynes and look at their body of work, it seems like we are arriving at something very cerebral, something very action-oriented at the same time, and also something that's not going to be afraid to be a little darker and a little edgier than your average Star Wars project. And that's something that we're going to talk about at a future date, probably not too distant future, but right now I think that pretty much covers it for what is new news, or at least news that we haven't talked about here on the show about Andor, and that is going to do it for this episode of the show as well. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.